Hey everyone, welcome back. This week's topic we're going to talk about is when is it time to launch your new website? This is an age-old question here, I think. It's something that people get hung up on in the course of a project. You go through a number of design iterations, a number of iterations of content while you're building out your site, and in that whole process you can kind of lose clarity on, like, well, when are we done? When is it time to launch your site? I think there are two different answers to this question, only because there are kind of two different sets of circumstances. The first one is if this is a brand new site, and the second one is if this is a redesign of an existing site. So to touch on brand new sites briefly, if you're familiar with the concept of minimum viable product, having an MVP, the idea is that you want to get something out to the public as quickly as possible so that you can start getting feedback on it and iterating towards something that people actually want. I think the same thing's basically true of a new website, especially if you have nothing up. As soon as you have something that is presentable as a finished product, I would say don't worry about getting it perfect. Web is not print. It's not like once you put this out on the web, it's locked in stone and you can't change it. I mean, if you've got a marketing piece and it goes to press, I mean, once it's printed, it's printed. You can't change it. You miss a typo, you decide you want to swap out a paragraph of text or change some messaging, well, it's printed, but that's not the way the internet works. On the internet, especially with modern content management systems, pretty much you can change your site anytime you want. So when you've got something that's presentable, put it out there. And I think sometimes we put the bar too high on what minimum viable product is. So what I would encourage you to think about is if you've got something and you're like, well, we're almost there, but this, and this aren't done yet, and we can't launch it with incomplete things on it. Well, often the simplest solution to that is just to hide those things. If you've got incomplete sections, maybe you're working on a case studies section, but you don't have all your case studies created yet, just hide that section. People usually, I'm not saying it's not a benefit to have it. It is a benefit to have it. But people, in most cases, don't notice the absence of the things that aren't there. So if what's holding you up from just getting something out there and starting to gain traction online and starting to get feedback and starting to get traffic, if what's holding you back is incomplete things, just don't let that hold you back. Hide those things. Usually that's as simple as removing them from the navigation or putting some pages in draft and just get that thing out there. The other scenario, of course, is a website redesign. And with a website redesign, you're often replacing an existing site. And I often see people who are hesitant to launch a new site, again, until it has everything that the old site had, no matter how bad the old site is. I've seen existing client sites that are, abrasive, painful to the eyes. They actively tell me, I'm embarrassed about this site. I actually don't even want my customers to go there. But they won't launch the new site until it's like all done. And again, what I would encourage you is minimum viable product. As soon as what you're developing, as soon as your new site is better than your existing site, launch it. It doesn't matter if you haven't completed every new feature you were going to develop. You can even be leaving some content behind if it's content you don't really need anymore, or it looks so bad compared to the rest of what you've developed that that's holding you back. So in general, the point of this, when is it time to launch your new website, is basically as soon as possible. And don't get hung up so much on where that bar for possible is. Recognize you can trim things down, you can simplify, and you can get something live sooner so that if you've got a really bad site, you can stop being embarrassed about sending people there. If you don't have anything yet, that's the sooner you're getting traffic and gaining traction on Google. These site launches are not these magical rollout moments where the world is sitting there waiting for the launch of the new thing. Unless you're a really large established site already, in most cases, people are just familiar with your site from the first time they hit it. And that means for them, you just get that one chance. I mean, they may come back later, but for most people and most businesses, especially if you're focused on informing an audience and lead gen and stuff, it's that first visit that's the most important. And for them, whatever they see first, that's your site. They won't necessarily know that it's incomplete. They may never know if you updated it again later, and they won't know what it was yesterday if they show up today. So bear that in mind when you're making these decisions, and don't hold your progress up unnecessarily. Don't be so hard on yourself. So that's it for this week. Simple tidbit, and I hope you found it helpful. See you next time.